Hello and welcome back to another video with me, Meoni, for Final Fantasy XIV. This time we're on the cash shop, looking at items that were added today on the 30th of June 2025. We have 4 new items, as you can see, and those items include something we've looked at previously, actually, as a bit of a preview from the Korean version of Final Fantasy XIV, but finally in the global version, you have access to the belt leather attire. Now, the way they've done this is very much the same as the Korean version. I wondered if they were going to do the same. Essentially, because of Viera and Hrothgar not being able to utilize the hats, what they've done is they've sold those separately alongside some gloves. So the full set cannot be purchased with this base price, as you can see here. There are 2 variants of the outfit. There are the trousers edition, which if we click on there, you'll see have complete trousers that go down. And obviously some boots, and there is also the cropped slops version, which if we go on here you will see has this cropped slop and shoes rather than boots. So those are the 2 variants, and each one of those, at least in the United Kingdom, will cost you £11.16 each, with £3.60 to purchase the hat and gloves separately. There is also a copy of Seekers of Eternity artwork for your indoor spaces for £3 if you want that. In United States dollars, then you're looking at $18 US for an outfit. Bear in mind, again, these are 3-piece outfits, which is a little bit steep, isn't it, really? And you obviously, if you want both variants, that's going to cost you $18 each. And then if you want the hat and gloves, that's another $6 US. A little bit pricey, not really a fan of this. I would have liked to have seen these probably $10 each, considering they don't have the helm and gloves. And then maybe like $2 for the hat and gloves separately. That would make a little bit more sense, in my opinion. $6 for a hat and gloves, a little bit extortionate, I think, personally. But that's just my opinion. Maybe things are more inflated these days than I'm capable of understanding. And in euros, it's pretty much the same sort of storyline there. But yeah, a little bit expensive. I do like, however, the option to purchase the hat and gloves separately. But I would have preferred if I had the option to purchase the hat and gloves separately. Let's say my character like Viera wouldn't be able to use it, but at a discount for the rest of the outfit. Because of that reason, it just feels like $18 is pretty high for an outfit at the best of times for a 3-piece outfit. And then whacking $6 on a hat and gloves seems a little bit cheeky, in my opinion. Anyway, we recorded some footage of this a while back. And as you can see here, this is what both of those sets look like. And yeah, I'll take it to past me to talk you through the rest of it. And let me know what you think about these yourself. You can see it does not work on Viera and Hrothgar. So that was the purpose of the first test. So the hat, no bueno, unfortunately. The rest of the outfit, sure. But if you're wondering if they have added another cash shop item that Viera and Hrothgar can't use, yes, they cannot. So let's look then at the first set first then. This is the cropped version of that top, as well as the 3/4 length leggies there with the suspenders onto those socks and the shoes. And honestly, this outfit looks amazing. I am slightly annoyed that the hat can't be used by Viera and Hrothgar still. I think that at this point in time, we should just poke holes in it and stick it through. But regardless, it is a nice outfit. It is a bit of a shame that it's in 3 different pieces. I would have preferred if we didn't have to buy the hat and the gloves separately. But at the same time, this might be the way they're going forward with outfits on the cash shop, making it so that Viera and Hrothgar players can opt out of having something useless in their inventory. However, the caveat with that is you don't get the gloves as well. The hat is quite nice though. It's got a nice set of belt buckles. Pretty cool. The top is probably the star of the show though. I love these straps. They look really, really good there. And that belt that goes around the waist onto the actual top itself, which is really nice. So if you were wondering where the belt was, it's actually a part of the top and not the bottoms. And we've got that sort of reverse back window on the back of this variant as well, which is quite nice. And obviously they're leaning towards one being more masculine than the other, but there is no gender locks on this either, which is a really good thing, which means that you can mix and match to your heart's content. These are the 3/4 leggies then, as you can see here, looking pretty good. I don't know which I prefer personally out of the two. I quite like the long variant, which you'll see in a moment in footage, but also I quite like the idea of the suspenders and socks. The socks are attached to the legs themselves there, with the shoes being separate with a line of sock. The gloves then are probably one of the more disappointing things. We have lots of gloves in the game that are like this, which is probably why I guess it was just included with the hat. Not too much is lost if you don't purchase that. And then those shoes, as you can see, with that lower buckle there on the ankle, that part from the buckle downwards goes onto the shoes, and then the sock upwards into the suspender, into the legs, goes obviously with the leg piece itself. So yeah, that's the first variant pretty much. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Quite honestly, there's just a bit more proof of where that belt goes onto the shirt itself. So you might be wondering to yourself, a very big question about that belt.
But does it work with Dawntrails?
Yes, amazingly it does. And it looks really good. So if you were hoping that it wasn't going to cut off skirts and anything below the waistline, you should be very happy, because that means we can layer belts onto things. Awesome. So let's look at the second set then. This is the variant without the back window, as we should call it, I guess. It comes default in a much darker color as the top, and we have white offset straps instead of the black. A bit of a contrast there. Basically reversed. The only other changes to this, other than the top not having that back window, as we say, is the legs and the feet, quite honestly. The top is really nice though on both of these. I'm not sure which I prefer. Probably end up purchasing both when it comes out in the West, quite honestly. And with these legs then, as you can get a better idea, they are long legs instead of having that 3/4 length cut off. And we get some nice big long boots as well, with a buckle that goes underneath the actual shoe itself, which is quite nice. Kind of remind me of cowboy boots, that kind of thing. They got a little bit of a heel on them, not too much though. We've got similar boots in the game, but these are really nice. I can imagine myself using these on quite a few different glamours. And if you're wondering if there was anything hidden underneath the top, then yes, actually there is. Both this and the other variant both have these straps, as you can see, that almost make it look like your character's wearing a thong, quite honestly, or some, fancy underwear with this leather strap that comes around and joins at the front there on the left side of your hip. And also that's the bottom of the leggies, in case you were wondering how they finished, if they flared or not. And yeah, honestly, pretty cool outfits. Let's look at some dye previews on both of these. Thankfully here for our previews on dyes, we were able to do what we usually do. I managed to instruct them to basically get all the dyes we normally use. So we've done the one direction with the first channel and the opposite direction with the second channel, looking at our usual colors. And I think it looks pretty good, honestly. On these sets, we've got the variants both left and right there of both sets. I like the fact that the second dye channel is actually mostly the belts. On all of those pieces. I think that it is the obvious choice, but it is also sometimes the case that sometimes the second dye channel in the game isn't always the obvious choice. So at least this looks nice and good. And with the combinations with other pieces of gear, obviously having that dyeable belt, considering that's the bit that's part of the top, means that we're going to be able to mix and match a lot more easily than we could have elsewhere. And that's pretty much it then. So obviously this is future me, present me now talking. I think it's a nice looking set, incredibly overpriced for what you get. The 3 pieces on their own is a bit weird. I would have liked there to be more ways to purchase the outfit at a discounted rate if you don't want to get your helm and gloves. Much more discounted than whatever that was supposed to be on the store. But I would also have liked to have seen it as a full set with the hat and gloves as well as an option. I don't know, more options are better, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be flipping expensive for some reason. If you had your eye on this from the very beginning, you'll probably already go and purchase this. But again, Let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.